Hey Tribers, what I want to do tonight is to go over one of the replays that I've got posted on YouTube in full, and that one's without commentary, but I really want to provide commentary on this one, just to sort of give you a sense of what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, and why I'm doing some of the things that may or may not make sense on first viewing. The first thing you'll notice is that I immediately inventory up, get to the flag stand, and I start bouncing like this. And I'm turning in roughly, 180 degrees or so, looking around up at the mountains. And what I'm doing here is I'm bouncing such that I can avoid incoming mortar spam and stuff as I see it. And I'm also jumping up to try to get a better viewpoint on the mountains around me. And I'm looking at what I think are the better cap routes on this map. I've never really played this map. I think maybe like 10 years ago or so. But I haven't played it like legitimately in quite a long time, and pubs play different than competition anyway, so this is essentially a fresh map for me. But the lower valleys between these high mountains here are generally where the cappers are going to want to come from, because if you're skiing directly down into the bowls, you're not going to have a good angle on the flag anyway. And so these small hills in front of the larger hills are good launch points for grabbing the flag stand, and those are what I'm mostly paying attention to as I'm bounding up and down. And there was a quick grab there, a little bit of action. You saw me position, make a stop, miss a stop, whatever. Here I'm sort of chasing this bomber down because the flags are out, we're in a standoff situation, and so stability of the base becomes really important. If they have a safe place to hide our flag and we don't have one for theirs, then they're probably going to win the standoff. And so taking this bomber down is pretty important. I'm aloft, I'm currently unemployed, and I can afford to do that, so I'm the guy chasing it down. You also saw me take down that O sniper pretty quickly because if there's a fight for the flag, and even if we say we win that, we get a return around the same time, then that O sniper is in a unique position to be able to kill our flag carrier while he's isolated and alone and our guard is down, and then possibly get the return. Mycelium trying to kill me with the V-pad there. He's gunning for that monthly stat. This is just typical standoff stuff, and what I'm doing is sort of checking out the defense. I'm trying to stay mobile and get a bead on guys who are coming in. And you'll notice that there's a lot of shrikes flying about. I'm sort of mentally taking note of that because it's a very foggy map. And so shrikes are actually a pretty good thing for me to see because shrikes are just giant moving sensors. And so my sensor warning bar is going to go off anytime there's a shrike in the area, and I can very easily figure out where the shrike is coming from because they're big and obvious, and then I can position myself to make a stop for it. Here's another bomber, and you notice that I'm trying to tag it with attack close, and the waypoint doesn't appear to be sticking. I think that's because somebody in that bomber has a sensor jammer pack, and in Classic, if somebody in the vehicle has a sensor jammer pack, then the SJ covers the entire vehicle. And so there's no red IFFs on these guys. Attack close waypoints aren't sticking because they're not staying spotted in the sensor net and all that good stuff. So if you're bombing in Classic, you absolutely want somebody on your crew to have a sensor jammer pack. And I think the ideal loadouts is going to be pilot with a repair pack, bomber with the sensor jammer pack, and then the tail gunner with an ammo pack so he's got extra flares and missiles. And the only reason I recommend giving the repair pack to the pilot is that you have to land and be stationary while the repairs are being done anyway. So the pilot has to be out doing that. And then if the gunner isn't the one jumping out of the vehicle, he can still use the heavy guns to cover, or the targeting laser to point out threats coming in that the bomber pilot might need to jump back in the bomber to get away from. So here you notice that I'm immediately disengaging from Calamoli and I'm switching over to our flag carrier, to chasing this guy down. Letting a decent intercept, and I'm trying to be patient here because I didn't have any good angles. There's no sense in me disc jumping and becoming extremely chainable myself. It's easier just to be patient, wait, and then cut them off here pretty far ahead of time. Here, if I'm being honest, I'm just wasting time. I should have probably controlled Cade and gotten back to the base in order to be able to protect that grab there. But the advantage of staying out in midfield just a little bit is that I can then move over and try to intercept Taco. That's me checking on who my teammate is. It happens to be Enselberg, aka Fallen One. He's a very good LD, and we get into some really good rhythm later on in this map. But the reason I was checking who was chasing with me is that I'm trying to make decisions on how I need to position myself, if I can afford to pull up short and snipe, or if I need to chase and chain. If somebody is going to get the return immediately, then what I need to do there is stop helping there, Control K, and get back on the flag stand so they can't just chain grab. So here I see that Double D is trying to do this tank defense thing. His timing isn't perfect because it's hard to be perfect from a tank from this far out. But I'm okay with what he's doing because, again, I'm still trying to get a feel for this map. I'm not exactly confident on it yet because I haven't actually spent a lot of time on the map. And right there you saw me zoom in on the tank because I fully expected one of those guys to jump right in the tank. We killed one, I lost track of the second guy. 9 times out of 10 they're going to try to jump in the tank like that, and that's exactly what Titan did. Double D didn't make a mistake there by shooting the tank, but because of the way this map is laid out, there's so many sniping points and we've got a pretty stable defensive situation. We really easily could have chained or sniped that guy out. So here, Enselberg is jumping on the flag stand. He's probably going to be taking over primary loft. I say that as he's running away. But this is good news for me because a double loft situation is really comfortable for me. I prefer going forward for the mid-airs and the mine discs. And so having a loft on the flag to get that security mine disc on the flag stand just means that I can focus on what I'm doing and I can actually commit to it as opposed to sort of having that doubt in the back of my mind. And I actually want to go back a little bit here. Sorry about that. So here, I saw footsteps on the top of a mountain, and I'm trying to let Enselberg know, and then the Shrike happens to come in about that same time. So I'm not actually trying to indicate the Shrike. I was trying to point out that capper or the O sniper walking around on the mountain, and this just kind of happens to luck out. But it's those tiny little details that help make a really, really good loft effective on the flag stand. So that's pretty good communication between a pair of lofts. And you notice that we're not on voice comms, we're just doing this all with in-game communication, the voice bind menus and targeting lasers and attack los. And those are really powerful tools if you use them right. And you'll also notice that I'm once again killing a bomber relatively effectively. Anytime you can just disc jump up and get a mine disc on a bomber, you're probably going to mess them up, because if they're in the middle of a run, one of those bombs is going to land on them. And if they're not, you've screwed up their run. They can no longer drop a whole bunch of bombs. This is poor positioning on my part, but I'm just resetting. I'm in spawn. But notice that I tried immediately to get underneath that Shrike. That's the right way to handle a Shrike. It doesn't seem that intuitive, but you'll see later on that I put that tactic to really good effect. And here, I know that I don't have any chance of catching Techi. He's a really good capper, and if he gets out clean, he's going to be out. So I'm not too worried about chasing him down. Now here you notice that I sort of stuck on Iron Sentry, but I wasn't aggressively pushing. That's because I see these footprints here. And then I also see secondary jets coming up over on the right side.
Team Inferno scores.
So you can see there's a character moving right there. He's just a shadow right underneath the mouse cursor there. But again, those are the kind of details you got to be able to pick up if you want to be a really good loft on a dark, foggy map like this. So I see this guy coming in. I know Iron Sentry because he's been active in Discord lately. He's pretty new back to the game, so I'm not too worried about him being able to grab and get away from me because this is a very snipe-friendly map. But I'm not sure who this guy is yet. So I'm mostly worried about him. So I want to chain um, Sentry to sort of nullify him as a threat so I can focus on this guy. And that turns out to be Calamoli. He's pretty snipeable. I wasn't confident on that snipe, and if I had taken that, I was worried Iron Sentry would just kill me outright anyway, so I decide to break away from that entire situation with a disc jump, and then again go for a sort of patient chase here. And again, Isselberg is a really effective LD, and he managed to beat me to the punch there, which is nice. Again, I'm resetting. I'm here in spawn because it's important to be on the flag stand as much as you can. And there again, I'm going underneath the Shrike to try to cut it off, and I just didn't quite make it. It's kind of suffering from a bit of lag lately, and I'm still trying to get used to it. I really find my rhythm a bit later on. You'll notice that we're holding this flag not just there at the boundary, but we're trying to disc it down this very convenient hill to get it as far out of bounds as possible. And that's because there's a little timer whenever you grab a flag out of bounds. And it will automatically pop off the capper if they hold it for a certain amount of time while they're out of bounds. So with this bit of communication, Isselberg tells me he's going to go back to the flag stand so he's ready for when it returns, which is nice. I'm in spawn. I can't defend this flag all that effectively. So he's there to prevent the chain cap. And that's me saying, hey, our flag is safe for now. Is our stand okay? Like, can I return this safely? It's okay, I can hold it, so let me know. And he does. He's in a good spot. We return it, and we both get back on the flag. No issues. So here again, you can see a glimmer of a guy coming in. Just right here on this mountain, you'll see a bit of jet flame and then maybe some footprints, and that's how I know that this guy is coming in. Again, that's a really tiny detail and it's really hard to see, but man, if you can spot those guys like that, you're such an asset to your team. See, now look how much that one disc threw that bomber off. I mean, that's devastating. If we had 2 or 3 more chain guns on that bomber, it would have gone down right there. Or if we had a base turret that was also firing at it, it would have been the end of the bomber with just one disc on the tail end of it. And you want to hit the tail end if you can, because that'll flip the nose down. And so then the bomber pilot is immediately going to slow down, use the jets to try to gain altitude instead of forward. He's going to cut his forward speed as a result, and then the whole thing it's just super vulnerable that way. So there's a Shrike coming in. Again, I know that Isselberg is on the flag stand, so what I want to do is position myself under the Shrike so that as soon as the capper jumps out, he's going to be going 180. Doesn't matter how fast the Shrike is going, there's a speed cap as you jump out of a vehicle. And that means that relative to the loft, that capper is going to appear behind and below the Shrike. So if you're underneath it, you're probably going to get the midair or the body block every time. The other bonus is that the only way the Shrike can run you down if you're underneath it is by dipping the nose. If you're playing over the top of it, all he has to do is tap the up jet, and he's got an easy rundown. He can circle around and grab the flag before you can reset. But if you're underneath, he has to dip the nose and ruin his approach on the flag stand. So even if he runs you down, he's probably off of his fastest route, and you've managed to slow him down. Hopefully one of your chasers can clean him up. Oh, and it's a bomber. Just kidding. I'm so full of shit.
Anytime. Anytime.
No!
I don't know.
That's a miss. It's going to happen as a loft. You get 8 mistakes as a loft. And it's only a matter of time before the offense scores on you anyway, so you really can't beat yourself up for misses on the flag stand like that. You just got to keep on doing your job. Keep up the chase. This is a hard exit for Taco here, and so he tries to jump in the Shrike, but because of all the chain guns we have, doesn't end up getting away with it. That Shrike explosion, to be honest with you. That's just me being butthurt because of the lag issues. I was like having a really hard time understanding what the server was trying to show me. And I looked at it in slower motion, and what happened is that Taco jumped out and away from the Shrike, and I couldn't see that in the moment. All I saw was the Shrike explode with, I thought, him still in it, and yet he took no damage from that, but it's because he jumped. So there, you saw me position myself for a body block. Get the mid-air mine disc. 13th gets sniped here, which is devastating because it means he can't disc jump out of here. And essentially that snipe ended this flag cap. So I don't have to worry about him getting away. I can focus on cleaning up our back area, let the other guys handle the actual flag return itself, which they do beautifully. Another thing I want to point out is how often and how quickly I pull out the chain gun as the first answer. And that's because the chain gun is probably the correct answer to 99% of the questions in Tribes 2 Classic. I'm still staying vigilant. I'm staying, keeping my attention on these cap routes. You'll notice that I'm not on the flag stand. That's because Isselberg is, and I don't want both of us to die to a surprise mine disc. So I want to put some distance between me and him. The dominant cap routes have been coming from the west side, and so I want to position myself so I've got the best vision on those routes. So let's go over this run again, because this is a perfect Shrike stop, in my opinion.
I'll repair our turrets.
At this point, I'm aware of the Shrike. I'm already underneath it, sort of by fortune, and I know exactly where Taco is going to come out. So I can just position not just my body, but also my reticle in the right spot, and as soon as I see his orange skin, I can pull the trigger and get the hit. I mean, it's more instinctive than conscious at that point. I see this disc come out, and again, O snipers are a problem for lofts, so I'm the number 2 loft. I've got the flexibility to come over and chase this guy down. He looks like he's trying to go in for a grab, but there's not a very fast route available here. So I realize he's really just trying to kill me. The bigger threat to the flag is Tetchy here, so I get a snipe on him, which again, on a wide open stand like this, is essentially a death knell for that cap. So that's sort of my priority, is I want to get that snipe on the flag carrier immediately. And then the rest of this is just cleaning up.
Retrieve our flag.
Cover our flag carrier.
I'm out of position to stop the Shrike, and I get elfed here by a teammate, which is extremely frustrating. Because that keeps me from being able to snipe, it keeps me from being able to DJ effectively here, and fortunately Exogen has this cleanup because he's surrounded a wildcat for reasons. I don't know, that's just Exogen things. So Isselberg isn't here, so I'm on the flag stand. I see him show up, I cede the flag stand to him, and I go repair and rearm. And now we're both established, and on my way in, I'm scanning the tops of mountains, I'm looking around on dominant cap routes, and keep an eye on my sensor warning bar as well, because that'll usually give away when the shrikes are starting to come in. So this is Indoor Turnip on a Shrike. He has not been capping, he's been the tail gunner of the bomber. And so I'm not really sure what he's up to, but I don't want a Shrike sharking around for opportunities. He ends up going for the base, so I take a mental note of that, but I'm not in a position to stop him without compromising my position on the flag. And with the kind of pressure we've been getting, we really want to keep both of the lofts active on the flag. I'll let the base D and the outgoing O handle turnip. So there, sensor warning ping. I position myself under the Shrike. I know exactly where he's going to come out. The only question is, when is he actually going to jump? And so I just make the call there. There, I was out of position to get underneath that Shrike, and so I played over the top. It's riskier, but I also know that Tetchy is a very hungry capper, and he's pretty much always going to try to go for the flag first and murder kill the LD later. So I was able to get away with that one. And then a third grab comes in, that's Promethium, but he's going front to back, which is obviously not ideal. It's a lot slower. And that's why we weren't being as vigilant toward that route, is you've got plenty of other opportunities to stop this. Now, Promethium also has help here from Taco Cat, but by the time that help gets there, we're all able to collapse in on it and get the stop.
I'm on repairs.
So this is not an ideal scenario for me because I don't have enough health to survive any kind of grenade spam or whatever. And grenade spam tends to be hard to pick up. So you'll notice I'm sort of panicking. I'm like, hey, is the flag secure? Is the flag secure? We need to return it. And then as soon as I returned it, Hisselberg says he doesn't know, as in he doesn't agree with that decision. And that's why I explained to him, well, I was getting pressured. That wasn't like a stupid move from me. That was a necessity. And that's sort of me maintaining the communication, you know, reassuring him on one part that, yeah, I know what I'm doing, and I'm not going to screw him over by returning the flag too early or anything like that. This is a sensor warning bar. Tags, pure and simple. You can tell I'm not even looking in the same direction. So as soon as I get this ping here at 52 seconds, I think, it's more like 49, you can tell that I immediately start looking around. Isselberg is focused on other threats, which is why it's nice to have two lofts on the flag stand, one primary, one backup. So that was a good bit of us covering each other. He was killing threats, I was interdicting on cappers. He's still the primary loft, he's the guy on the stand, he's the one who's going to be getting shot at the most, so I feed him my health kit, and then I've got the flexibility to go heal and rearm if I need to. But I see that he's not using it, that he doesn't need it, so I go ahead and take it back. This is Shrike again. I get the nameplate on that. That's 13th Virus. He's a good capper. So making a mental note that he's set up out back. I want to ping that mortar spam for our chasing LD, but Poppin' Fresh ends up coming in anyway, so he didn't stay hidden over there. And here I see the Shrike coming in. This is the exact same vector that he exited from. And then I get run over by my teammate in an MBB. And then to top it all off, while I'm invoing, there's our old friend again. So that was just a brilliant sequence of top tier lofting right there. And then, yeah, I totally whiffed this attack on Techi just to top it all off. And then that's about the sum total of all the bad luck I have on this map. The rest of it's an absolute joy. So I want to pressure Indoor Turnip because I know he's trying to kill our MPB. We've got some good guys here going to repair it. And I'm trying to again, Iron Sentry is pretty new to the game. So I'm trying to indicate, hey, repair the turret because, it'll actually repair faster that way. There are two different hitboxes on the MPB. One of them is at the back where the inventory station is, and the other one is the turret itself. And if you destroy any part of the MPB, the entire thing explodes, and that's why there's a quote-unquote weak spot on the back of the MPB. And you'll also notice that we started getting shot again while I was typing that. I went ahead and finished typing it anyway. That's because it's 5-2. I'm not really worried about winning this game. I would much rather take the opportunity to teach a player something that they can, directly learn from. So here I'm trying to hide behind this turret from this missile because missiles don't avoid buildings, they'll just plow into it. And so by staying behind that missile, I sort of compromise my chasing route here. But I would have stayed alive if that other flare hadn't been there for me. And then I ended up getting chained, but that's okay. Again, I'm double checking the score, double checking the rosters, making sure that our situation isn't like too dire. It's not. They've got the flag, we don't. Best thing to do right here is just reset and let them have this cap. They earned it. You'll also notice my sensor warning bar here is flashing yellow. That's because I'm in the sensor jamming field of the MPB, and that's actually a bad thing for me because I don't have that flashing red sensor warning bar whenever a Shrike comes by. So I'm going to start playing off the flag stand here, even though it's empty, because I want that green bar and I want Shrikes to be able to detect me so that I know when they're in the area. So notice here that I'm standing off the flag stand, and that's because I don't have my sensor warning bar due to the MPB placement. And I would rather have that flash red to let me know that there's a Shrike overhead. Beautifully said. Notice I'm still just sort of rotating around looking at the dominant routes, and I'm not so much looking for incoming cappers or whatever as I am contrails from Shrikes, because that's where the biggest threats have been so far. So these are pretty quick routes. There's a Shrike, position up underneath it, whiff the mine disc, but position yourself for the body block. And on pretty short notice, that was kind of a hardish stop angle because I had to cross the flag stand. So I'm okay with the body block there. This is just a poor snipe. I really should have hit that. Again, notice that the chain gun is the immediate answer after that snipe comes out. And then here I want to play defensively, so I'm getting up on the high ground, making Techi have to work if he intends to kill me, and just buying my LD time, and that's going to be game.
Victory.
So anyway, this is kind of a weird format. This is my first time live reviewing a video like this. This obviously isn't the ideal video reviewing software to be doing that in. So hopefully this worked out. And drop me comments if you have any questions or if you want to know how my scripts are set up or anything like that. And I'll be happy to answer them. But anyway, that's all I got today. So have a nice day and come play Tribes.